Good morning. So in the previous classes, we have discussed about the threads, multi-threaded programming. So we have seen what exactly the meaning of the thread and the applications of thread, and we have the predefined class for threads, that is thread class. So thread is a predefined class if you want to use some predefined methods or to predefined interfaces, there is a predefined class called thread, which is defined in the util package. So that is regarding the threads. So we have seen the examples also. So this is the thread class. We have seen this one. Thread class. So this is the base class for every remaining thread. Whatever the threads if you create, all the threads has to be uh, extended from this thread class. So this is the super class for all the threads. So if you are writing if you are creating any thread, means you have to import this package thread. We will use the methods in the thread class. So this is the important concept in the thread. So this is a predefined thread class. So it is defined in the language package, Java language package. Then it has some methods like start, run, join, alive, is alive. So like that, we have so many methods in the class thread. Start, run, is alive, get name, current thread. So like that, sleep, join, like that, we have so many methods in the thread class. Already we have seen some programs regarding the threads. So already we have the daemon threads. We have the concept of daemon threads. So daemon threads means already predefined threads. So if you there is a no need to create the threads. Already if you run the program, already that background threads will be always execute. So those type of threads are known as daemon threads. Example for daemon thread is main thread. So main thread is an example for daemon thread. That means predefined thread. So this main thread means it's nothing but a if the program execution starts with the public static void main. So when you invoke that method main background, the main thread will be execute. The main thread will automatically invoke. So that is the concept of main thread. Example, this is the example for daemon thread. So next concept is creation of new threads. How do you create a thread? How do you implement the thread concept? So next concept is in today's class, we will learn how to create the threads, creation of new threads, creation of new threads. So threads can be created by using two methods. Threads can be created by using two ways. First one is by extending the thread class, by extending from the thread class, and by implementing the runnable interface. So there are two ways to implement the thread. First one is by using the thread class. Second one is by using the runnable interface. Runnable interface. So both these two things are predefined. So thread class is already predefined one. Runnable is an interface name. Runnable is an interface name. So we can create the threads by using the runnable interface, as well as we can create the threads by using the thread class. There are two ways to create the threads, by using the thread class and by using the runnable interface. So let us see how you can create the threads. Let us see one program to create the threads. Suppose first way is to create the thread to create the threads by using the thread class, and second one is to create the threads by using the runnable interface. So first we will see the extending from the threads. Suppose I am creating the class. Let us save this one. T1. T1.java. Suppose I am creating the class. Suppose I am creating the class thread1. So which extends thread class. Which extends thread class. So this is the first way of creating the threads. If you want to create the thread means you have to extend this from the thread class. We have to inherit the properties of the thread class. Then only we can create the threads. So this is the simple way. Class. This is our class name. So this thread1 class extends the thread class. So if you want to create any thread means we have to write this one. We have to extend the thread class. So here we will write the syntax. Public void run. Public void run. So this is the method. This is the predefined method. So this is the predefined method. So this is already defined in the language package. So this is an overridden method. This is an overridden method. That's why I have written the annotation @override. So this is called annotation. So that means run method is already defined in the language package. So again we are going to override the run method. That means every logic. So every thread logic can be written in the run method. So every logic regarding the threads can be written in the run method only. So here we will write our logic. Suppose I am writing for int I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. So here I am going to print the some system.out.println I value. Suppose I want to print the I value. So this is my thread. So this is the some piece of program. Thread is nothing but some piece of program, part of the program. So this is my part of the program. So this is my thread. So the logic of the thread can be placed within the run method. So this is the run method. I will close the class. So I will write the main class. The main class is T1. So the main class is T1. So here I will have the main method, public static void main string args arguments. I am passing the arguments. So here, see here what to do is we need an object. So in order to access the members, suppose, so we are extending the properties from the thread class. We are extending the properties from the thread class. So thread class consists of so many methods. So thread class consists of so many methods. If you want to access those methods, we need an object. So we need an object to access that method. That means all the methods are not static methods. If all methods are static means we don't need an object. By using the thread, we can directly access the methods. So, but in the thread class, all the methods are not static. Some methods are static. So we need an object. We need an object to access those methods. We need an object to access those methods. So that's why I am creating an object. So I am creating an object of type thread1. Thread1. So thread1 is a class name. Suppose the object is T1 is equal to new thread. So this is the syntax for creation of the thread. So next we have to start the thread. So here we have just created the object for the thread. So through this object we can access some methods in the thread class. So T1.start. T1.start. Then close the class. T1.start. So whenever you invoke the T1.start, then only the thread starts execution. So whenever you write this statement, then only the thread starts execution. That means this run method will execute. This run method will execute whenever you call the start method. Whenever you call the start method. So the start method definition is written in the thread class. The definition is written in the thread class. So just we are invoking that method start. So if you want to create the thread means we need a start method. So in order to access the start method, I have created an object T1. So whenever you invoke this one, T1.start, then control directly goes to the run method. The control goes to the run method. That means if the logic behind the thread is, we have to write here we have two methods. Let us see here. So here we have two methods. First one is start method. Second one is run method. So run method is, so there is no need to invoke the run method. T1.start, T1.run. There is no need to invoke the method run. So run method is implicitly called by the start method. Run method is implicitly called by the, invoked by the start method. There is no need to give separately the T1.run. So whenever you invoke this start method, then automatically run method will execute. So these two methods are very, very essential in threads. So entire logic can be written in the run method. So if you want to run this method, we need to start the thread. We need to start the thread. Then we need a T1.start. So this is the implementation of thread by using the thread class. So this is the thread class by using the thread class. If you don't give this means, simply if you give the class thread1 like that means, if you don't give this extend statements means this logic should not compile. So this is one way of creating the threads. So let us run this one. Save this one. So Java C. So program name is t1.java. So some errors. Incompatible types. So here the class is thread1. Save this one. So program compiled. Let us run this one. So the thread is executed. The thread is executed. So the program execution starts with the main method. The program execution starts with the main method. So in the main method, next statement is object is created. Next statement is T1.start will execute. So whenever you invoke this one, the control goes to the run method. So run method will execute. So this is the simple way to illustrate the creation of the threads. So this is the one method. So next method is by using the runnable interface. So here by using the class, we are creating the threads. So next method is by using the interface. By using the interface, we can create the threads. So let us see. So let us take another program. T2.java. So I'm taking the class thread2. I'm creating the class thread2. In the previous program, we have used the keyword extends. Why? Because we are inheriting the properties from thread class. By using the class, we are creating the classes. We are creating the threads. But now, by using the interfaces, we are creating the classes. By using the interfaces means we have to implement that interface. The keyword is implements. Implements. The interface name is runnable. The interface name is runnable. Runnable is an interface. Runnable is an interface. So here we write we will override the method public void run. So always run method should be public. Why? Because overridden means the method name and signature is same, but the definition is different. That's why you have to write the public void. So in that, I'm writing some statement system.out.println. So this is runnable interface. I'm writing the statement. This is the runnable interface. So I am closing the run method. I'm closing the class. So I'm creating the main method, the main class. So in the main class, we have the public static void main string args. So in this, we need an object to create the class is thread2. I'm creating the object new thread2. So by using the object t2 dot start. So this is how you can create the threads. Same, but the difference is here implements runnable, here extends thread. Here we will use the thread class. Here we are using the runnable interface. Here we are using the runnable interface. So let us run this program. I think it should get some errors. Let us save this one. So Java C t2.java. So some errors. Cannot find the symbol t2. Cannot find the symbol t2. So t2 is an object for the class thread2. Thread2. That means the start method is available in the thread class. The start method is available in the thread class. We have not extended that properties. So generally start method is available in the thread class. So if you want to access the some methods, means we need to create the object for thread class. So we need to create the object for thread class. Let us create the object thread t is equal to new thread. We have to pass the parameter t2. Parameterized constructor t2. Parameterized constructor t2. Then by using the object t, we'll start the by using the object t, we will start the thread. We'll create the threads. So let us save and run this one. So the program is compiled. So the program is executed. So that means the start method is defined in the thread class. So we have to create the object for thread class. We have to create the object for thread class. We are creating the object for thread class. So we are passing the T2 object as for constructor, parameterized constructor. We are passing some parameter to the constructor T2. So this is the difference between this. By using the class, we don't need two objects, but by using the runnable interface, there is a need to create two objects. There is a need to create the two objects. So that is the difference between the implementation by using the class thread and by using the interface runnable. There is a slight difference. Or we can give this in a single line. Let us try this one. I am creating an object t. New thread. So in the braces, we can pass the new class thread 2. So let us see whether it will work or not. So in a single line, we can write the statement. I am creating an object of type class, and then within the constructor, I am passing the another class, new thread2. So thread2 is this one. Run method is defined in the thread2. That's why I have written this one. So let us see the program execute on that. So the program is compiled. So the program is executed. So this can be followed. So instead of these two lines, I have written in the single line. Single line. So either of these two can be followed. So any doubts on this? So implementation of threads by using the runnable interface and by using the class thread. So there are two ways to implement the threads. So first one is by extending thread class and runnable interface. So this runnable interface can be implemented by using the four ways. So this runnable interface can be implemented by using the four ways, four styles. You can call it as four styles. That means first one conventional code, next one by using the lambda expression, by using the method reference, and then by using the anonymous inner class. We have seen all these things in the previous sessions. So conventional code means what I have explained now. Next, lambda expression means, so we have explained some programs regarding the lambda expressions also. And then method reference. That means by using the method reference, this symbol, colon symbol, by using the here class name, here method name. Next, anonymous inner class. So already we have seen the types of classes. In that we have defined the anonymous inner classes. So by using these four ways, we can implement the runnable interface. By using these four ways, we can implement the runnable interface. So this is all about the creation of the threads. So next one. So see this example. So this is the method reference. This is the example for method reference. So this is the example for lambda expression. So this is the example for anonymous class. So by using these three ways, we can define the runnable interface. So see the class name colon method one dot start. So this is the lambda operator, hyphen greater than or equal to. This is the lambda operator. So by using the lambda functions also, you can implement the threads. That means starting of the threads without need of the object. That means, so if you want to create the threads by using the runnable interface, means we need two objects. First object is for class. Second object is for thread. We need two objects. Without those objects, we can directly call the start method. So our concept is to start the thread. That means we need to invoke the start method. So in order to invoke the start method, we need an objects. So here there is no need to create the objects. Without objects, we can directly start the method. So that is the ultimate aim of this program. We have to start the thread by using the anonymous class, by using the lambda expression, by using the method reference. So either of these ways can be followed. We can have the multiple threads also. We can create multiple threads. That means we have the single thread. If you have the two or more threads also. So those threads can be implemented by using runnable interface as well as the thread class. So same syntax can be followed. So next one is thread states. So next concept is thread states. So a thread typically consists of 5 states. A thread has 5 states, or it can be named as thread life cycle also. thread life cycle. Thread life cycle. So thread life cycle or thread states. So both are same. So thread states means how the thread can have. If you create the thread means that is one state. If you are executing the thread means that is another state. So if you are destroying the thread means that is another state. So like that, if you have the process states, new state, ready state, running state, waiting state, termination state. So we have the process states, operating systems, we have the process state. So likewise, we have the thread states. So a thread is also treated as a process. That means thread consists of some lines of code, some instructions. So process is also same. Process is nothing but a program under execution. So process is also a program. So here thread is also a part of the program. That means it has some states. We can define some states for the thread. So first state is new state. New state. That means we can create the threads. Next one, ready to run state. Next state is ready to run state. It can be called as runnable state. Runnable state. That means it is ready to run. Next, running state. Running state means that is execution. The thread is executing. Running state. Next, fourth state is waiting state. That we can treat it as non-runnable state. Non-runnable state. So that may be waiting state or sleeping state or blocked state or suspended state. Anything can be. So fourth one, dead state. Fourth one, dead state. So the program execution completed, then it comes to the dead state. Or so any interruption came, the thread may be killed, then it comes to the thread state. So in threads, we have 5 states, 5 thread state. So let us illustrate through one diagram. So see this one. So first one, new state. So this is the new state. So this is the runnable state. So this is the running state. So all these things are waiting state. All these things are waiting state. This is the dead state. So we have total 5 states. New state, ready state, running state, waiting state, and dead state. So first one, new thread. That means new state. So what happens here is, new state means in the program we will write the logic like this. Thread T is equal to new thread. So that means we are creating the new thread. So then thread is in the new state. Then the thread is in the new state. So whenever you invoke the method by using the object t.start, then the thread is in the runnable state. That thread is ready to run. The thread is in the runnable state. Next, if you invoke the method run method, then the thread is in running state. So the run method is implicitly invoked by the start method. So there is no need to invoke the run method separately. So this is the run state. So if you want to waiting state, so waiting state means t1 dot sleep 300 milliseconds. So sleep is a method, sleep, single p. Sleep means the thread execution of thread suspends for some 300 milliseconds. That is waiting state. So dead state means t dot stop. T dot stop. That means the thread stops execution. Then thread is in the dead state. So these are the methods we can use it to correlate between the states. New state means we are creating the thread. We can correlate this one. We are creating the thread. Runnable means we can start the thread. Running means the thread execution. So t dot sleep means the program is in the thread is in the waiting state. Dead state means the program stops execution. So let us see the links between the each state. The program is, the thread is started. The thread is scheduled to run sometime, after some time. So the program is running, the not program, thread is running. So thread may have some states: wait, sleep, suspend. There are three methods. By using three methods, the thread maybe goes to the waiting state. So these are the, all these three are the waiting states. Waiting states. The thread will wait for some time, either wait or sleep or suspend. The thread will wait for some time, some milliseconds. So after expiry of that milliseconds, the thread will goes to the runnable state. The thread will goes to the runnable state. That means ready state. Then same, the thread will starts execution. So if the thread completes its execution, then it goes to the dead state. Dead state. So if the ready queue, that means ready state, runnable state, all the threads are, suppose T1, T2, like that we have so many threads are stored in the ready queue. So if the ready queue is filled, means if the T10 thread comes to the ready queue, means the T10 has no place to no place. Then our T10 may have the infinite waiting, starvation. So you know the starvation, infinite waiting is called starvation. So if that T5, the T5 thread not allocated the processor, that means that is not in the running state. That is not in the running state. That means the processor is not allocated for that. The processor is not allocated for that thread from long time. Then automatically the thread goes to the dead state. Automatically the thread goes to the dead state, termination state. So these are the life cycle of a thread. So if you create the thread, means the thread will goes to the runnable state, the thread will goes to the running state, or sometimes the thread will goes to the waiting state. So after completion of that, the thread will goes to the dead state. So these are the typically 5 states of the thread. So this can be treated as a thread life cycle also. Thread life cycle, after from starting of the thread till ending of the thread. So all the states are mentioned here. So this is the thread life cycle. So we can call it as a thread states also. So next concept is thread priority. Thread priority. So each thread has its own priority. So if you create any thread, means the thread has the priority values from 0 to 10. Thread has the priority values from 0 to 10. So let us see here. So the thread priority values are from 1 to 10. 1 to 10. So the thread priority starts with 1, ends with the 10. Starts with 1 and ends with the 10. So thread priority 10 means that is the maximum priority. Maximum priority. Thread value 1 means, thread priority value 1 means that is minimum priority. Normal priority, nominal priority, that is 5. That is 5. So that is average. That means if you create any thread, means the default priority is 5. If you create any thread, that the default priority is 5. So if you change the priorities also, set priority and get priority, by using that some methods, we can change the priorities also. We can change the priorities for the threads also. So max priority, nominal priority, and minimum priority. So by using these priorities, we can change the thread priorities. By default, the thread priority is 5. So if you create any thread, means that priority is 5. So these are the methods: set priority, get priority. So by using these methods, we can set the priorities for the threads. Also, we can print the priority values for the threads. So we have some program regarding this method. By using this method, get priority. So the get priority is printed. So here we are setting the priority, set priority. By using these two methods, we can set the priorities as well as the get the priorities. So next concept is synchronization. So we will see this one in the next class. So let us execute some programs. So let us see this one. So these programs are to illustrate the creation of the threads. Creation of the threads by using the thread class as well as the runnable interface. So let us see the thread class. By using the thread class, how do you create the threads? So I am creating the class thread e1. So which extends from the thread class. So next I am creating the constructor. Next I am creating the constructor. And by using the super keyword, I am giving the name for the thread. And I am starting the thread. I have started the thread. So this is the end of the constructor and then void run. So this is the run method. So this in this run method, we have to write the logic. So this is my thread. And the main method is public static void main. So I am creating the some object new thread e1. New thread e1. Java C thread e1.java. So it's my thread. So the program is executed. So this is a simple program to illustrate the concept of threads, to create the threads by using the thread class. By using the thread class. So here we have used the constructor. So you may in multi-threaded programming, if you have the more than two threads means, then we can use the constructor to initialize the constructor name. We can create the constructor. Without this also, the program will execute. So let us see how the runnable interface will execute. Same thing by using the runnable interface. So how can you have this by using the runnable interface? So I'm creating the thread R1, which implements the runnable. So public void main, I am printing the runnable interface. Main method, in this main method, I am creating the object th of type thread. So thread is the base class, thread, and new thread R1. So I have set the syntax. And then we will call the start method by using the object th.start. So this is the implementation of the thread by using the runnable interface. By using the runnable interface. So let us see some try-catch program on this. So let us see this one. So I'm going to use the thread class to create the threads, and I'm creating the some constructor. I'm giving the thread name as second thread super. I'm printing this is the second thread by using the keyword this. You know the purpose of the keyword this, and I have started the method start. So this is the constructor. Next, I am writing the run method. So here I am going to write my logic. Here I am going to write my logic. So here I am using the try method, try catch blocks. That means there is a possibility of some exceptions. So that's why I am writing the logic in between the try block. So for loop, I am printing the square root of n value 0 to 4. So I am printing the square root of n, square root of n. Math.sqrt. We know the function math.sqrt. Next, I am printing the sum. Second thread is alive. will now sleep for 300 milliseconds. So we are going to sleep the threads. That means we are calling the method thread. We are calling the method sleep. Sleep of 300. That means 300 milliseconds the thread will sleep. So we have to access the sleep method by using the thread. That means sleep method is static method. So by using the class thread, we can directly access the sleep class, thread.sleep. So after that catch method, so any interrupted exception, so we are printing that second thread is interrupted. So after that, we are exiting from the second thread. So we have closed the run method. So next in the main method, so I am writing the main method here, public static void main method. So here I am creating the thread2, thread e2. So thread e2 is a class name. I am giving the reference for the thread e2. Next, I am creating the try block. For I is equal to 0, I am printing the I value. So here, this is the main thread. This is the daemon thread. So before previous program, this is the second thread. So this is the main thread. So whenever you invoke the method main, automatically the daemon thread main will execute. Main thread will execute. So here also we are writing the sleep method. So in the catch, we are writing the main thread interrupted. So this is how you can implement the threads by using the thread class. So let us run this one. Java thread e2. So see this one. The program is executed. So this is the second thread. Main thread is alive. Now sleeps for 500 milliseconds. The square root values are printed. After that, we are printing the I values. I values are printed. After that, square root values are printed. So this is the simple program to illustrate the thread class. So let us see same this as by using the runnable interface. By using the runnable interface, how you can implement those multiple threads. So my thread implements runnable. I am creating the object T. I am creating the object T of the class thread. And then I am creating the constructor. So here thread T is equal to new thread. In the parameter, in the constructor, I am passing the second thread. I am naming this as second thread. I am printing the thread name. I am starting the thread T dot start. So while using the runnable interface, while using the class. So while using the class thread, we don't need object of type T. So here, while using the runnable interface, we need a object T. Through the object only, we are going to start the method. We are going to start the thread. So here same method, same void run. Here a try block and catch block. Same main class. So here I am creating another object T1. So through that object we can access the access the methods. So same program. Previous program only, but we have implementation is different. So in the previous program, we have used the thread class. Here we have used the runnable interface. So see the execution. Some delay is there. That means the thread is stops execution. That means we have given the T dot sleep 300 millisecond. Suppose if you give the 3000, let us see the difference. If you give the 3000 means there is some difference. If you want to give some more, 30,000. So see the difference. So this is how we can implement the threads by using the thread class as well as the runnable interface. So this is the usage of the Lambda function. Lambda function, the runnable interface can be implemented by using the three special ways. So by using the method reference, by using the Lambda function, by using the anonymous class. So by using the anonymous class also, we can start the threads. So this is the syntax. So this is the syntax for all these things. Method reference means the class name, double colon, method name, dot start. Here this is the lambda operator, method name dot start. Next, new runnable. In that runnable anonymous class, we have said that this is the anonymous class. So in that we have to invoke the method dot start. So in these three ways we can implement the threads in the runnable interface. So this is all for today's class. So in today's class we have implemented the creation of threads by using the two ways. First one is creation of threads by using the thread class, and creation of the threads by using the runnable interface. And then we have seen the priorities of threads. So each thread has its own priority. So by default, the thread priority value is 5 for all the threads. So we can change the threads. We can set the threads priority by using the set priority method. And then we have seen the life cycle of the thread life cycle. We have seen the 5 states of the threads: new state, runnable state, running state, waiting state, and stop, dead state. So these are the 5 states of the threads. So any doubts? So in tomorrow's class, we can check the synchronization among the threads. Okay, thank you.